Hi everyone, this is Heather Lottanen from the Flourish Academy, where our goal is to empower, educate, and elevate you to create a life that you love through the art and business of photography. In this video, we are going to combine these images in Photoshop. But first, make sure you check out our sponsor, ymcamera.com, for all of your photography needs. This video will be part one in a two-part series in order to finalize this photograph. I was working with a private mentoring client a few days ago in her basement studio, and as you can see, we were in a very tight space. We had an Einstein light on the right with, I believe, a 60-inch umbrella and a Savage ring light on the left to produce these results. But naturally, it's difficult to have one photo where both kids are smiling, so we're going to composite these images for the best result. Now in this video, we're just going to work on our subjects, and in the following video, we will tackle the background. Let's begin by pressing V on the keyboard in order to access the Move tool. I'm going to hold down Shift and click and drag in order to drop this image in the same approximate location on this canvas. Now I can select this image, press Command or Control W to close. I'm going to press F on my keyboard to enter into full screen. And let's begin by aligning these images properly before adding a layer mask. So what I'm going to do is drop the opacity of layer 1. And with my Move tool, what I'm going to do is line up his feet because I know that he didn't move his feet between those frames. Let's zoom in with a Command or Control plus. And if I just move that around until it looks pretty good, which I think is probably right about there, I'm going to take that opacity back up to 100%. Next, I'm going to add a layer mask by clicking the icon at the bottom of the layers palette. Press B on your keyboard in order to access your brush tool. Now I've noticed right away that my brush tool, while set to the normal mode, is at an opacity of 40%, and I need that to be 100. I also noticed that I have a white brush, and brushing with a white brush on a white layer mask will not result in anything. So I'm going to press X on my keyboard in order to access my black brush. When working with layer masks, white reveals and black conceals. What we're going to do is just brush over in order to conceal or hide layer 1 and reveal the background layer, which is the image where he is obviously smiling. So I'm just going to brush over this side of him pretty quickly because I know it's not going to impact anything on the other side. But as I come over here, I need to make this brush smaller and a little bit more precise as I go along here because you'll see what's happening. If I take it a little bit too far, then I am also starting to see portions of the baby that I don't want. So I'm going to press X on my keyboard in order to switch to my white brush, make the brush smaller, and then start to brush over here. This is the beauty of using layer masks, is that they're non-destructive and you can very quickly switch between black and white in order to reveal or conceal depending on what you're tackling. Now I have a feeling about this area right here. I think that as I write, his elbow starts to show from the other photo. I press X on my keyboard to get rid of it, and then I see her hand. So I'm going to have to be very precise at fixing this particular area, and I'm wondering if I might actually have to clone a part of it. Let's see if I can get in there really tight. Yeah, that little area right there is going to be a problem. So what I'm going to do is press Command Option Shift E in order to merge the two layers up to a top layer, now named layer 2. I'm going to press J on my keyboard. I said a moment ago the clone stamp, but I think I'll use the patch tool. I will click and drag around the selection, place my cursor inside, and then move it to an area close by in order to patch it, and then press Command or Control D to deselect. Now let's zoom out with a Command or Control minus and see how we're doing here. I'm going to hold down Alt or Option on my keyboard and click the background visibility so that I can turn all of those layers off and on. I see one tiny little area I missed right here. So I'll just select that with the patch tool, move it over to here, Command or Control D, Command or Control minus to come back out. Again, Alt or Option to look at the before and after. And that looks great. The last thing I want to do for this video is change the color of the car that he's holding per the mom's request. And I think it's a very valid request. The car is red, it doesn't match the rest of the outfit, and it's actually a really simple fix. Let's zoom in with a Command or Control plus on the keyboard. I'm going to press L on my keyboard in order to access my lasso tool. But I want to make sure that I have the magnetic lasso tool where Photoshop can see the edges and trace along it in order to select. Just reposition that really quickly and start to click and drag your mouse or your stylus along the edge of this truck in order for Photoshop to select it. Now you can also click in order to drop a pin yourself if you feel like Photoshop is not doing a good job. And sometimes on those tricky edges, you do need to do that. But for the most part, especially with something like this, Photoshop does a pretty good job at determining the edge. It's looking for areas of contrast in order to make that selection. So as I come around the top here, I just double clicked and it selected it. Now I'm going to add a hue saturation adjustment layer. When I do that, Photoshop automatically turned that selection into a layer mask, which is fantastic because now I can come into the hue and simply drag in order to change the color. I'm going to take it up around here, but it's just a little bit bright or saturated for me. So I'm going to also pull down on the saturation. Now let's zoom out with a Command or Control minus and take a look at what that looks like before and after. What an incredible difference. And you can adjust this slider to your heart's content to get it to be the right color. Again, something that was really important here was that I also pulled down on the saturation just to make it a lot less obvious. I hope that you found this useful, but you'll definitely want to stick around for the next video where we fix the background. I'll see you then.